Some of those maintaining jobs throughout the course of this pandemic have seen a strain due to wages and hours being restricted in bars and restaurants.
Comparatively speaking, from when I first started here to now, it's just a wasteland. Like that is the best way I can describe it. Unless, say, we have some Packer games or the Bucks are starting up soon. We do get a good amount of people for those, but you could come here for a Bucks game or any Packers game when I first started here, and it was just packed to the brim. Super loud, great energy, like nothing I've seen since being in here in Milwaukee for the last couple of years. And now it's just kind of sad with the regulations.
It's been hard during the pandemic, especially, knowing the money everybody was making beforehand, and now everyone is kind of on budget and struggling because, shifts are rare and the hours are less because we've had to close down early, we've had to have less capacity. It's hard to work in an environment as heavy as it is right now. So before, I'd go home with $600-700 paycheck every 2 weeks, and now I'm seeing $250-300, if that. And I think it's certainly cut people's income in half, and that's why a lot of people are trying to find second jobs, and that's even harder because there's less jobs to be had right now as well. So.
And I've lost 2 jobs in 2020 solely to COVID. It's probably getting like $80-90 like in like 4 hours. Like, it was a good job, but since I was newer, they ended up laying me off once everything started shut down, and Movida was literally shut down, like no one's sitting until probably like August, and this was back in March. So I tried to claim unemployment for that. I couldn't do that, and then I started working for Home Depot, and then since I didn't like it, I quit and then got this bouncing job. And since I quit Home Depot, they said they have to interview me to make sure that I quit for a legitimate reason. And I was like, okay, well, how is that long is that going to take? They said, and she told me, she was like, I don't know. There are thousands of people waiting to be interviewed.
During this past April, unemployment was sitting at a whopping 39.3% among those employed through an in-person service industry, as well as 99.4% of businesses in Wisconsin being small businesses. Nearly half of the workforce has taken hard hits during the span of the current COVID-19 pandemic.
To spend $10,000 on something and then go another $10,000 in debt because I had to spend all this money getting it together, and then not being able to make the profits that I needed to over the course of summer 2020, I'm kind of sitting in a rough spot now. So, because I just spent all my money like at the beginning of the pandemic. So I didn't have any money at the beginning of it, and now it's hard to find another job. So I think that building the bike shop is going to be the most important thing to do as the owner to make sure that that stays afloat, because obviously that's the time that by the time next summer comes around, I will see profits, but making it to next summer is going to be the challenge. So maybe finding another part-time job would be important.
When my boss, a few weeks before, he started saying things about the masks being in low supply, the N94 masks that I was supposed to be using for grinding. And then a few weeks after, he actually laid me off right when everything else was starting to shut down, and he had me laid off for about 5 months due to the things that I was making, and there was no demand for the things that I was making anymore, and that company was making it was focusing more on clean rooms for hospitals instead of the product that I was working on, so they laid me off.
Even though times are tough, it is important to remember that we will persevere, even through a global pandemic, with the support of our family and friends. From Media Milwaukee, I'm Anna Benjamin.